Alright, so what we have here is a beautiful Montblanc 320. This pen is beautiful. It is in Bordeaux, so it's sort of a reddish color, maroon like color, and it is beautiful. These pens were manufactured in the late 60s up to the early 70s. This is an entry level pen for Montblanc. And as we all know, Montblanc pens are really expensive, so this belongs to their budget on that era. And it is beautiful. It is a budget pen with a gold nib. It's a piston filler. So yeah, I got this pen in a flea market and in used condition. So I was able to disassemble it and restore it. So look how gorgeous it is now. I've managed to lubricate the piston filling mechanism and all the threads inside. So yeah, I'm gonna show you today how to fully disassemble this pen. So it is a snap cap, and then I'll try to talk about the parts while I disassemble them. So the only thing you need is a rubber, a Q-tip with a long handle, and some sort of a metal, a thin metal, or a toothpick will be fine. You just have to make sure that it's thin enough to go through the breather hole. So let's start with the actual pen. So the actual pen, I would suggest to soak it overnight because all the dried inks, it should be gone, and it will help loosen the pen. So this pen will come off pretty nicely because I've already lubricated it. But yeah, so the section comes off like that, and then as you can see there's a screw. Now sealing the pen again, I've read that Montblanc doesn't use any sealant or some shellac for the threads, and they just rely on the press fitting of the threads. But I put some silicone grease over there just to help seal the pen as well. So first of all, the beautiful section there. What I do first is take off the nib. You'll see why. So the nib, you can just slide it off. Just get a rubber so that you can grip it and then just move it forward. So as you can see, there is our beautiful 14 karat gold nib. It's marked 585 over there, and it is nice and beautiful. No scratches. And then once you've done that, you will see that the feed is exposed over there. So your tendency is you're gonna push the feed, and you don't want to do that because you're gonna destroy, or there's a tendency that you're gonna widen the ink channel. So what I will want you to do is get your metal or your toothpick and then just put it inside the breather hole. Make sure your toothpick is thin enough, and then once you push it, you will feel the feed coming out. The feed has a rubber seal on it. Make sure you don't lose this. So it is really important because this will regulate the ink flow onto the feed. And this breather hole right here, the tip of the Q-tip has the exact same size. I wish I've got an endoscope, but there's a hole there. So you just push it out from the inside. If you shine a light on the inside, you'll clearly see the hole for it, and then it just pops out like that. So that is the breather hole. So as you can see here, just the section alone has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, and that's how complex it is. That's why I love vintage pens. Each part has a special or significant role. And then continuing with the barrel, there is the ink window with the clutch ring over there. So there's two parts. I won't try and remove this silver ring right here because it looks like it goes, there's a special notch for it into the ink window, and then I think by soaking it in water, and maybe if you get an ultrasonic cleaner, you can clean it. So I won't try and remove that one. And then the actual ink chamber just screws on to the barrel as well. So just this is slippery now. As you can see, there's the silicone grease that I've put in here. So just grip it and then just try and wipe this first with the towel. So yeah, there you go. So it screws out easily because I've also put a silicone grease onto the other end. So as you can see there, it is a very long thread, and there's the actual ink chamber. Now the piston mechanism, it just screws out. There you go. Some pens you could take out the piston from this side, like the Pilot Custom A23. It has a special wrench that you can put onto the thread, and then you can sort of loosen it. But with this Montblanc 32, you can't. So it's important to remove the ink chamber first, because you'll see the reason why. I'll try to assemble it again. So it's assembled again. If you try to just twist it, this limits the piston from moving forward, and also if you just try and spin it, you might destroy the helix mechanism inside. So don't force it. Just remove the ink chamber first, like what we did earlier, and then hold the piston. So this is lubricated with silicone grease as well, so I'm gonna use a towel. Hold the piston so you prevent it from spinning, and then just screw it out, and then that's your helix mechanism. So as you can see there, those are helix structures. So imagine if you are trying to unscrew it from the piston itself with stopper in here, then you're gonna break those helix structures. So that is the most important thing that I want you to remember, because if you're servicing piston fillers, you're used to taking it out from the blind cap side. With this one, don't take it out. And also, there's an extra part here that I don't see on the disassembly pictures, but there's I actually don't know what to call it. I think it's a limiter for the piston to not go all the way up on this side. So as you can, what I did there was I just poked it with a Q-tip, and it came off like that. So that is your barrel and disassembled. Now we go to the cap. So the cap is very easy. This is a top screw right there where the Montblanc finial is. So if yours is too tight, just get the rubber and then rotate it clockwise like that. But mine is already loose, so I'm just gonna rotate it counterclockwise. There you go. And then I don't know if you can see it moving up and down, because you'll see there is a spring inside there. Don't lose it as well. This is the inner cap, so these moves up and down, and that helps in sealing the pen. So don't lose these two parts right there. That is the gold ring, and then the screw cap, and then that's the clip. So on the first time that I disassembled this pen, this was pretty tight because there's a lot of dried gunk on the surrounding of the inner cap, which I already managed to clean. I got so excited I wasn't able to video it, but yeah, there's a lot of gunk there, so it was pretty tight. So what I did was I just pushed it with a Q-tip from the top of the cap. So that's it. That's your Montblanc 320 fully disassembled. I won't remove that O-ring there because I don't want to break it, and also I like the color, it's yellow. So you know that there's an O-ring there. But yeah, and the main problem that I had, or not really a problem, just annoyed me, is I fairly cleaned this pen with just plain water, and then the water gets inside in here in the piston. As you can see, there's my Q-tip, and then it's hollow, so the water goes there, and you know, it takes you days for it to dry. So every time you twist the piston and then you tighten it, there's like bubbles of water that comes out onto the seam, which annoyed me a little bit. But also I needed to micro mesh this pen and make it look like new again. That's why I decided to disassemble it. Right, so let's assemble the pen back. We will start with the barrel. Make sure the limiter is this in direction. The wide part goes onto the blind cap side because the structure looks like this. So that's the piston over there, and the limiter goes inside the ink chamber, and it stops the piston from going further, and that's why you can't take it out through the blind cap like the other piston fillers. So make sure it goes that way. Now how am I gonna take off this? Just gonna poke this in the hole here. Okay, right, so just put the not the blind cap, the limiter. And the complicated thing here is the piston. You cannot just put it like that and assemble it with the screw cap, because as you can see here, that is tight now. It won't go any further, and there's a huge gap in between the blind cap and the actual barrel. So I had difficulty figuring it out as well, and I can't find any article or video on how to do it. So this is the fiddly bit, but I think I figured it out. All I did was put this, and then as soon as it gets into the threads, just turn it one full turn, and then now I put the piston back. Make sure the helix system is gripping it. And then now you can try and screw it. So as you can see there, there's still a small gap, so that means maybe I gripped it too early. So this is the if you got a tip on how to do this, let me know. But this is what I do. I just play with it until it lines up or the gap is gone between the blind cap and the seam. You don't want it too shallow as well, because that means it will limit the ink capacity that you can take. So right now I am happy with that gap. There is actually maybe quarter of a turn, so let's try and do that. So I don't know, earlier all I need to do was one full turn. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, this is the challenge that I had with this pen, and I couldn't find any article about it. See there, the gap is big again. So I just have to play around on how deep the helix should be before I engage it with the piston head. So let's try this. There's a huge gap there. That means I need to turn it further. So I actually don't know if I'm doing this wrong, but I managed to get it working earlier with a huge ink capacity. So I am happy with it. Again, if you've got any suggestion on how to do this better, please share it with me in the comments. So that's it. I think that's the perfect gap. Also, if it's too loose anyway, once you put in the ink chamber, the helix system would tighten up, because this thing right here limits the piston from going that way. So as you screw it in and try to loosen or bring the piston forward towards the section direction, there you can tighten the helix. So yeah, so that's it. That's my barrel assembled. So as you can see there is no gap, and the pen is really looking beautiful. And next would be the ink window with the clutch ring. So the clutch ring has a little notch on the inside. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but you can see there that there's a wall. that fits onto here, so it only goes on one direction, and then just put it in there. And now we move on to the section. So the first thing that I put is the breather hole because it's the easiest. So it goes from the outside onto the nib direction, and then you just basically push it there. Make sure it's flushed. Sometimes you have to change your angle. And then now you need to put the feed. If you've got an alligator, you can put the seal a little bit later, but for me, I don't have it at the moment, so I'll put the seal now. So this is the top bit where the ink channel is, so make sure you clean that, you remove all the dried ink on there before assembling it again. And then there's no rails that will guide the feed into the section, but there are faint markings here of the XY axis, north, south, east, west. But the easiest thing for me is, you see that ink channel there? There's the feed hole for the nib here. I'll just make sure that the ink channel is centered in that hole. So I just line it up like that. And then I just push it with a Q-tip. There you go. So I don't know if you can see, but the ink channel is centered now. And then you can put the nib back by just pushing it against the section. If the nib would allow me to touch it. There you go. So that just clips onto the section over there. And then I'll just get my rubber and just to tighten it up a little bit. Not too tight, it's press fit, so you will feel it. You will feel the maximum depth of the nib. And then the cap, I just get the Q-tip. Make sure you go with layers. So the inner cap first, and then you put the gold ring, and then you put the spring back, and then you just put it inside the cap. Hold it with your dominant hand, and then put the clip on top. There is also a notch where the clip would go, so you won't go the wrong way. And then the clip just goes on there, and then the screw just screws on top. The infamous Montblanc logo. There you go, beautiful. That it's nice and tight. You can reinforce it with a rubber if you really want, so it doesn't fall off. And then yeah, this barrel screws into this section. I'll just put a little bit of silicone grease on them, and then just screws on there. And that is your Montblanc 320 fully assembled. Now this pen is full of silicone grease from me applying it, but yeah, I'm just gonna wipe it and clean it with a paper towel later. But yeah, I'm just gonna show you the fully disassembled pen and how beautiful it is. And there's the cap. So yeah, this pen is lovely. What I got is a fine nib. I really like my Montblancs on a medium nib. But anyway, I'm still thankful for this one. This is a beautiful pen. If you see this in the wild, it is easy, very easy to restore. Just make sure that the helix is not broken, which is the piston filling mechanism. I think it is available in custompenparts.com, but I'm not sure, I haven't checked. So yeah, but yeah, if you can get a pen, Montblanc 320 in a good condition, just scratches, in a good price, for sure buy it, because this is a gorgeous pen. So yeah, that's it for now. If you like what I do, please like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me, and I'll see you again on the next fountain pen video that I'll make. Bye.